All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah DeSantis. I'm with DCED, and I'd like to introduce Rob Dubas and Bethany Ayers Fisher. Rob is with Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, and Bethany is with the City of Reading, and we're here to talk to you today a little bit about PA Fights Sturdy. I just want to say quickly that this WebEx is being recorded, and your continued participation is your consent to being recorded. So if you don't consent, feel free to exit now, and we are recording this, so the video will be available later. And on that note, I will turn things over to Rob.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about everyone's favorite topic, litter, and the PA Fights Dirty campaign. Um, so quickly, Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. We are the statewide affiliate for Keep America Beautiful, and then we also work with a number of local affiliates at the county or municipal level. And we're going to be joined later in the presentation by one of our local partners, the city of Reading, and they have some great stuff to show us too about how they put this campaign in motion. Um, so real quickly, just some numbers because um, I think with litter, numbers can tell a lot. We've been doing this since 1990. Just in last year alone, you can see quickly there. These are some of our cleanups. Um, 4,942 events, and that's just 1 year. 65, almost 66,000 volunteers. Um, they cleaned almost 8,000 miles of road. Recycled 134,000 pounds of scrap. And the thing about these numbers is they're hard. They're kind of hard to picture. I mean, 8,000 miles of road, it doesn't mean much, and this is just for 1 year. Um, but one thing I want to keep in mind is that no one, after all this work was done, no one would say that the roads are perfectly clean now. And that's unfortunately. Next slide, please. And because of that, 2018, PA Department of Environmental Protection, PennDOT, and KPB, we wanted to take a deeper dive into what's actually out there because year after year these cleanups are invaluable, but they have to be done every single year. So we wanted to take a look at what's actually out there and see if there's a way to kind of get ahead of the issue. Um, and the Pennsylvania Litter Research Study is available on our website. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you go back to the previous slide? Thank you. Yeah, just real quickly. And then the Pennsylvania Litter Research Study helped inform the Pennsylvania Litter Action Plan. And this was the first time this kind of plan was done in Pennsylvania. And again, I definitely recommend everyone take a look at that. There's a lot of great resources there. Now, from that, one of the things that the Litter Action Plan and the research study found was that we need more education, more public outreach. And one of the programs that came out of that is the Young Ambassadors Program, which is working with the next generation of students who are going to be community and environmental leaders. Kylie, who is also with Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful and is monitoring the chat today, she is the lead of that program. So if anyone's interested in that, please reach out to her. One of the other things that came out of the Litter Action Plan was the PA Fights Dirty public education campaign. And of course, that's why we're here today. That was developed with DEP, Department of Community and Economic Development, PennDOT, and Red House Communications. Next slide, please. Some quick numbers here from the cost study. And again, these numbers they're hard to fathom. But anyone who's been on a cleanup knows how much litter is out on our roads. They've seen the cigarette butts. And anyone who works with in a municipality knows how much is spent on these cleanups. And That city spent $68.5 million. That's only for 9 cities in 1 year. That's not the total that was spent in the entire state. You can see right there, PennDOT spends upward of $13 million. These are not trivial amounts of money, and they could be much better used for other way better purposes. Um, Next slide, please. This is a quick little breakdown of the types of litter that was found during the visible litter study. Um, Plastics and cigarette butts are the big takeaways from this. And these, I'm sorry, um, there was another big thing I wanted to mention. Fast food products, beverage containers, which are under, depending on the plastics or the paper, over 40 million beverage containers and fast food products were found in the visible litter study. Um, Again, because this was looking at roads, looks like motorists and pedestrians were one of the biggest sources of this litter. And again, this helped inform what was going to be done for the education campaign. This is from the when I mentioned before about the 9 cities. We actually worked with these 9 cities to find out what they spend on prevention, education, cleanups, and enforcement. Um, Now these are a lot of numbers, but the big takeaway here is that how much is spent totally. 68 almost thousand, and again, this is 1 year for 9 cities. Um, the cleanups vastly outnumber what's spent on education and enforcement, and cleanups are necessary. We always say that litter attracts litter. So when cleanups aren't done, it's just going to create a larger problem. But again, part of the reason behind doing this research was to try to get ahead of the issue and not just keep doing cleanups to figure out to clean up what was already dumped and littered, but try to create it from happening in the first place. Next slide, please. This is just a visual representation of those costs. And like I mentioned in the previous slide, litter abatement is by far the majority of what money is spent on. Education and outreach is a very small sliver. Um, Prevention is a fairly small sliver as well. Um, so again, we're trying to come up with tools to increase what could be done for education, what could be done for prevention. And these, education is not easy, and I think that's one of the reasons that we do so much on cleanups and abatement. Um, those are what needs to be done in the immediate, but again, we want to try to move ahead of that. Next slide, please. And this is just some of our great volunteers. Um, None of what we do would be possible without them. We work with various volunteer groups. We work with individual families. We work with industry, corporations, and municipalities. Um, that's what keeps Pennsylvania beautiful, in a nutshell, is all these people spending their free time doing these cleanups, coming out on a weekend, coming out maybe a morning before work, and this is where it all gets done. Um, so thank you very much, and I'd like to turn it over to Sarah DeSantis from DCED, and she's going to talk to you about some of those education efforts and some of those resources that you can use in your own campaigns.
All right, so thank you to Rob for that great introduction. So I'm going to talk, like he said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the PA Fights Dirty campaign and all the free materials that we're making available to everyone so you can join in on the fight against litter. So as Rob mentioned, this campaign is based on research. We really found that education was a key component. We can't just be going out and picking up the trash. It's better if we prevent the trash from being thrown in the wrong place to begin with. So we looked at the data that showed where litter came from, when people littered, who was most likely to litter, what was most likely to become litter, and where it was frequently tossed. Some of that data was not shocking. For example, we suspected that younger people were more likely to litter based on other behavioral trends. And we've all seen litter among roadways, so it was apparent to us that motorists were a key component. But we were surprised as a marketing team to learn many times littering occurred just out of ignorance. For example, spectators leaving behind their food wrappers at a stadium thinking that that's what you do and somebody's going to come along and clean it up. Or placing trash next to or on top of an overflowing public trash can. Again, thinking that's what you're supposed to do, but that's actually considered littering. So when we looked at whose behavior we'd be most likely to change, it's much harder to change the mind of someone who knows that they're littering and doesn't care. It's much easier to teach someone that doesn't like litter that what they're doing is littering. So those people they're already predisposed to change their behavior based on their morals. So generally with marketing, we find that shame doesn't really work as a tactic. So we steered away from that aspect and instead we kept our messaging fun and lighthearted while maintaining the educational components. And so we decided to theme this season's campaign, Every Litter Bit Matters, to reflect that small pieces of litter add up to more than 500,000 pieces of litter across our Commonwealth, and to reflect that small actions like chasing down that straw paper really do add up. So we don't need every person to go out and pick up 5,000 pieces of litter. We just need people to make small changes in their habits to prevent litter so it doesn't pile up. So here are three of our most prominent concepts. To create these, our creative agency, Red House, went out into the streets. They're based in Pittsburgh. So they went out into the streets of Pittsburgh and they actually picked up all this trash and then they worked with a motion capture team to create our advertisements. And so I'm going to show you a few if you haven't seen them. I love them. I hope you do too.
Small litter is creating a big mess. In fact, 85% of trash on PA roadways is 4 inches or less. Don't let an inch of litter turn into a mile. PA fights dirty. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Yep. And so on that one, we're really talking about roadside litter and how you think just letting that little piece of trash doesn't matter, but really when you drive our roadways, you can see that it does add up.
Small litter is creating a big mess. In fact, 85%
Okay, here's the second one.
litter draws litter. So take care of your trash before it attracts more. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
And the third one.
Cigarette butts make up 1/3 of all litter. Take up to 10 years to decompose. And are toxic. Stash them so you can trash them. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
And that one specifically talks about cigarette butts because they are the most commonly littered item uh, shown through the data. And I know that some smokers think that cigarette butts are biodegradable. Some of them are even marketed as being biodegradable, but they're not. And they do add up and they do leach toxins into things. So we're just trying to educate people. Make sure you take that extra step and put it out somewhere proper. So we took this initial campaign and bought $2 million in ad placements, which is fairly sizable, and it allows us to get PA Fights 30, Every Litter Bit Matters, in a whole range of locations. We especially focused on digital ads, which you may not have seen if you're outside our target demographic that's most likely to litter. And that's good because it means we're spending our money getting the ads to the right people. So for example, I didn't see any of the PA Fights 30 digital ads. They weren't served to me on Hulu or anything like that. And that's because as a 30-something-year-old woman, um, I'm not the target market of people who litter. But one day I was standing in the hallway of our office, holding these big boards that are behind me, and a male colleague stopped me. He was in his early 20s, probably like 23, and he said, "Are you the one responsible for those litter ads? I see them nonstop." And he had been being served them on Hulu, Facebook, through the Google display ads that appear on websites. And So even though he isn't personally somebody that would probably litter, it does mean that we are getting into that right demographic, which is those younger folks are most likely to litter. So in addition to the more traditional ads, like billboards, Google display ads, Facebook, we also filled 2 plexiglass transit shelter walls in Philadelphia with litter, which drew a lot of great attention to how little litter stacks up. So here you can see our transit actual litter. People stopped and looked at it. There it is in Philadelphia. And here they are putting thousands of cigarette butts, that way you can see how it adds up over time. Okay, so now that I've told you a little bit about our campaign, um, I just want to talk to you about how you fit into this big picture of getting the message out. So while a lot of people think of marketing as just pay campaigns, there's other routes to getting that message out, and that's where we're going to call on you to do your part. So we're looking for community support to build the momentum of our campaign, folks to organize cleanups, or just even share awareness about what constitutes littering. So to help you more easily get the word out, we created a library of resources for you to use here at dcd.pa.gov/litter. We have social media posts, fact sheets, printable posters, and more, and everything is free. You can go ahead and grab it and use it. And the fastest way to access these materials, and this is a screenshot of what you'll see on that website, is to scroll down to Litter Resources Library button at the bottom of the page. It's next to a few other really great resources, including a toolkit that's packed with good info, as well as links to the litter action plan that Rob mentioned, and Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful's website. And I'll circle back to some of those resources here in a minute, but first I want to talk about the Litter Resources Library. If you scroll down through that Litter Resources Library, this is what it looks like. And you'll see all these different graphics that are available for you to use, again, at no cost. And you'll see that most of our resources are available in both English and in Spanish. And we tried to make it easy for you to find what you're looking for by offering drop-down options. So you can easily see, for example, all Spanish language materials, all posters, etc. You'll also see on the resource page different toolkits to help guide you to use these materials. We specifically have one for municipalities, which is tailored more towards community leaders, but then we also have one that's just all audiences. And you can feel free to use whichever one you think suits you best. There's no hard and fast rules about this. You're not going to get in trouble for using the wrong one. We just want to make that information quickly accessible to you to get you using it as best you can. And the toolkit is also available in Spanish. So inside the toolkit, you'll find everything you need to share the mission of PA Fights Dirty with everybody in your community. It includes key statistics and interesting facts, copy and pastable social media posts, helpful links such as the Adopt a Highway sign up page, and a list of ways to fight dirty in your community, and a lot of other really great things. The toolkit also includes a link to our logo guidelines, which is an extremely helpful and important document that lets us share the graphics we've created you while protecting our brand identity and our trademark. So we want everything related to PA Fights Dirty to have the same feeling to it, which makes everything easily recognizable. So if you quickly look at the shirts that we're wearing today, you'll immediately know that they're PA Fights Dirty because everything matches and has that same look and feel. So for example, you'll see that we asked you to stick to the 3 defined colors of the logo, which are brand yellow, black, white, and the color codes are included in the brand guidelines to make it easy for you to match. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to do like a frame in brand yellow, you can easily go and grab the hex and make that happen. We also ask that you not only keep the trademark mark on everything, but also keep it legible by making sure it's in a color that is high contrast against the background of what you're printing on. We want you to use the logo to your heart's content. If you want to put it on t-shirts, trash grabbers, reusable bags, water bottles, etc., your imagination is the limit there. You're more than welcome to do that. We just, make sure to keep things legible. We also have specific fonts that we use. Now, if you're typing a document to go out with the PA Fights Dirty logo, like a letter, you don't have to have that whole letter be in social Gothic bold, but we do want to make sure that the logo font, and anything that you attach to the logo should be in those fonts. So if you want the letter to be Times New Roman and then have the logo at the top, make sure you're using our fonts for the logo. And here's a few common don'ts that we've seen through some of our other projects here. In the upper right, you can see it doesn't really look right when you change the font, as I mentioned. And there's a few other tweaks here that are no-goes, like stretching, squeezing it, outlining it, rotating it. In general, the best way to use the logo is to download the one you want and paste it in the document you want. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. And we do have options that if you want to include your municipality or group name, we have a downloadable option to add that in. And there's a few varying examples about the correct way to do that. You can see if you're printing on black, we have a white alternate, we have the standard one, we have a black alternate depending on what you're doing. Just to make it easier for you, we just have a lot of different options because we want to make sure that we're partnering with you. We want you to get our logo out, our message out, share it as much as you can, um, because teamwork is how we're going to keep litter from happening and keep us from having to go out and pick it up off the side of the road. So again, I encourage everyone to take a look at dcd.pa.gov/litter and make use of everything we have in our litter resources libraries. We're here to help each other fight dirty in Pennsylvania, so if you have any questions or concerns or ideas, feel free to let me know. And now I'm going to turn things over to Bethany at the City of Reading. She's a sustainability manager, and she's used some of the items we have in this toolkit to really get the message out in the City of Reading. So I'm going to hand things off to her so you can see how you can use it in your community.
Everyone, thanks for having me. And we can go to the next slide. So Reading has this litter and dumping problem. We have a lot of challenges. We're a very compact city, and a lot of, especially beverage containers, end up in our storm drains, which then end up into our streams. This is after Hurricane Ida in one of our locations. So in addition to all of the sediment, gravels, and trees, we also had a lot of plastics in that debris that we had to remove. And then the picture on the right is actually at an outfall in the Schuylkill River. All of the shiny things are bottle caps, aluminum cans, glass. So we have participated in the cost of litter study and with the Keep PA Beautiful and the Litter Action Plan. We're also members of the U.S. Water Alliance, SWANA Prop, and we're currently in the process of renewing our relationship with Keep PA Beautiful. And we're doing it in order to increase our capacity, educate our residents, and help reset our community standards and expectations. So the Solid Waste Division spends approximately $2 million per year on litter control and dumping cleanups. This includes our staff time, equipment, tipping fees, hosting community cleanups, and providing tools for volunteers. And we're typically hosting or supporting over 250 cleanups a year. Next slide. We use orange bags for our cleanups. They're very easy for us to spot. We also know that they are part of our cleanup efforts and not another illegal dump. And we also distribute them to our unhoused neighbors so that way they can take care of their sites as well. And we have a huge issue with the dumping of tires and construction materials, despite the fact that we have 3 landfills and 4 scrap yards within 25 minutes of Center City. We also offer weekly bulk waste, electronics recycling, and residential tire pickup as part of our comprehensive waste collection program. Next slide. So in addition to our community outreach efforts at events and at our schools, and we do maintain some social media presence, it's just not enough. And we really need people to understand that that river quality issues and plastics in the ocean starts on our blocks. So in the fall of 2022, the PA Fights Dirty campaign did the first media buy, and focusing on Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Harrisburg. And they did do some TV ads during the World Series, which is how we saw them up in Reading, when that was very cool. But we didn't see a whole lot of the media campaign in our area. So Steve Harity, who's our solid waste manager, myself, and our MS4 coordinator started looking into how we could leverage the media packet on our teeny tiny budget. We couldn't afford a TV buy. Large billboards were completely out of the question. So we looked at our bus system shelters. So over the cost of one billboard for 1 month, we were able to purchase 6 bus shelter ads for 6 months. And in this photo, you will see a custom graphic that we designed in-house that incorporates our Only Rain Down the Drain messaging for our MS4 program and the PA Fights Dirty logo. And we'll go to the next slide. And it's just another location, but kind of highlights how we've done it a little bit. And then next slide. We also were only able to get 6 bus shelters. So our amazing webmaster took the materials and put the English and the Spanish together on one poster. So that way we were able to maximize the messaging. Over 65% of our population is Spanish speaking. And we couldn't really afford to do separate posters. And since there were only 6 shelters available and the shelters only have 1 spot, we really wanted to combine the messaging because we've had conversations about this in other outreach materials. And if the message is only in English or if it's only in Spanish, people feel either left out or that it's not for them, or in worst case, that they feel negatively targeted. So we decided to combine our posters. And so this is at another shelter. And so we would like to see Reading, the 4th largest city in Pennsylvania, not in America, in Pennsylvania, just a cleaner, healthier, happier city. And we would like to be part of the future media buys that we can then kind of scaffold off of it. And we do plan on continuing the media buy past August, just with occasional changes to keep the messaging nice and fresh. And the next slide. We also used the March and April months to advertise our Great American Cleanup and our Earth Day events. This year we had over 350 participants in the Great American Cleanup, and we had nearly 3,000 people at our Earth Day event. And then we have since replaced these with the PA Fights Dirty posters. We're also looking at developing stickers to pass out at events and through the schools, and then window posters for businesses and neighbors to display. The only thing that we've had trouble with is that the fonts are not in Canva, and we don't know how to upload them to Canva, so we have to change the font a little bit. Not on the logo, but those fonts are not readily available. And so, any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions for any of us, feel free to type them in the chat now, and
Yeah.
we'll spend the rest of the session here answering your questions. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Hello. The only question that I had from the chat so far was from Adeline. For I believe Sarah, have you seen results, or do you know the direct results? Or is there a way for Red House to communicate those?
So we do have results as far as the reach of the media campaign. We can tell you that, we bought X amount of Facebook ads and it reached X number of people. We don't yet have impact results because that is going to take some time, especially because this is a prevention campaign. So by just running it over the last few months, it's going to take a few years. And I do think, talking to Shannon from Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, she does want to do then a follow-up litter survey a few years from now to show the impact. So it is going to be a little bit until we see the impact, just because, people stop littering and then we see that down the road. But we do have available, if you want to email me, I can get you reach results as far as our media buy.
I was going to quickly respond to Aaron's question about any success in enforcing fines on littering. We did do a deep dive into some enforcement stuff. On our website is again, it's our website. Go to research. Near the top is an enforcement section, and there's an enforcement study right there. So quick, just super briefly, the littering is difficult to enforce because you have to see it. Um, cameras can work for things like illegal dumping, but to catch littering, so like throwing a cigarette butt out a window or something like that, the fastest camera in the world is going to have trouble with that. And then it's also what is worth an enforcement officer's time if they're dealing with more serious crimes. So it's difficult to enforce fines on littering. It does happen though, and you can see some of that in the enforcement study. But I'd say it does happen, but enforcement is a part of stopping a problem, along with cleanups and education. So I caution anyone to think that the enforcement is going to solve this problem. It's part of the approach, but it's definitely not the full approach. Hope that answers your question.
And then it looks like from Erica, for Sarah, we have a question. As you stated, you have a Hispanic population in Reading. How do you communicate and have those conversations with the community? What does your outreach look like? That might be for Sarah and Bethany, though.
Yeah, probably a little bit more for Bethany, so I'll let you get started since
Yeah.
you.
So at Public Works, we have a policy of being the first to show up and the last to leave and be everywhere. So we not only host public events, but we partner up with other community events, whether it's tabling or like some of our neighborhood block parties. We provide the bubbles. We have huge bubble containers, and then we can have conversations that way. I am not bilingual, but we do have bilingual staff and volunteers that can help translate. I've gotten pretty good about working through interpreters, and I do pay like on a per event basis for interpretation when we're going to need it. And then with the schools, we typically do third and fourth graders for a recycling and keep your parks clean, keep your playground clean lesson. And then with the high schoolers, we support science fair projects and also go in and talk to different science classes on, we've done everything like how is plastic made? Where does plastic come from? At our science center, I've done shrinky dinks to demonstrate how, like why some plastics aren't recyclable. Because if you heat them up, they change their conformation and all of those things. And then we do have a pretty good Facebook campaign as well, but it literally is, you have to try to reach out to every person all the time. Our baseball players in the parks are the worst. Basketball players, like they will just line their water bottles up and forget. And then we do find that with the cigarette butts, places that have disposal areas have a lot less cigarette butts especially in our downtown area. The worst part is the railroad tracks back up to, or the county courthouse building backs up to the railroad tracks, and that is the worst spot in the city for cigarette butts. And the employees go out back and then toss their butts onto the railroad tracks. And we have discussed putting out cigarette containers for them. That's something that Keep Running Beautiful, once they get up, that we're going to do. The city doesn't feel like we should have to pay for the counties not maintaining their property, or for the railroad tracks not maintaining their property, but that's another thing. But yeah, we'll be getting some containers out there for them.
And then I think just from the state end, we try to make sure that everything we create is translated to make everything available. So
Yeah.
while Bethany's doing the hands-on component, we're trying to make sure that everything we give her, she already has translated. So she isn't individually going and finding a translator. And we
Yeah.
do work with a translation service that actually takes it, and they don't just do a word for word translation. They really hone in on the meaning of things. So it really is
Yeah.
more
Yeah, we
authentic.
were just able to like basically just take it and then combine it. It was, so that was pretty easy to do. Again, we only had 6 shelters that were available, and we wanted to get as many out there and not have it be, well, this one's in Spanish and this one's in English. And so we wanted to make sure we were reaching everybody at the same time. And it's also a good way to like double check your English and your Spanish as you're reading. Like if you can understand the one and the other. So we have had the one request that we had, our mayor was asking why it was in Pittsburgh Steelers colors and not in Reading Knight colors, but
Well, it's obvious because
I was just going to add that there was a question about when reaching out to schools. Do we target specific ages, grades, or do we reach out to all age and grade levels? I'm not sure who that was directed to. I can say from a Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful perspective, we do have our Litter Hawk Youth Award, which is specifically K through 6th graders, kind of tailored to them at that age. And then our Young Ambassadors program is only for high schoolers, 10th grade through 12th grade. So it is more mature and able to be researched by them and their age as well. So that's our specific target outreach. We do it by grade levels because we believe like there's definitely different learning styles and capacity throughout the grades. So we definitely think going grade by grade is more helpful than doing a one size fits all approach.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
anyone else wants to chime in, feel free.
yeah, we also do customized lessons by grade. We also have 13 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, and the high school, and that's just in our public school system. Plus, we have another 7 schools, private schools in Reading. So it's a capacity thing of trying to. We can't reach every grade, every classroom every year. And one of the things that were helpful, especially during the pandemic, we distributed close to 6,000 Open Your Eyes to Litter activity books at different events through the library and through the take-home bags that we were sending kids home with. So we were, even though we weren't really back in the classroom until this year, we were still able to do that outreach.
I just wanted to real quickly just expand on the cigarette litter disposal. Kylie put a link to a clip on the cigarette litter prevention program, and that's a program that's we've received funding through KAB, Keep America Beautiful, and through that we've put we worked with PennDOT and the state parks to get cigarette litter receptacles around what's called transition points. So that's places where someone who's smoking needs to get rid of their butt because they're either going into a building or they're going into a non-smoking area. And we have seen a reduction in litter when receptacles are put around those transition points. I think it's 64% over the years that we've been doing the program is the number calculated through end of 2022. That's not including the 2023 numbers yet. And I also wanted to mention that if any municipality is interested in that grant through KAB themselves, go to kab.org and their community grants, I think is what it's called. And look at that for yourself too. I can't remember the deadline offhand, but I believe that any municipality is able to apply for that program as well. And when also mentioned about, I think, Aaron had asked about data and experience with dog poo. Yeah, no, that's no fun for any volunteers to clean up. I have 2 dogs, and they drop some poo, and we always make sure to clean it up. because the last thing I want to do is be spotted not cleaning it up. So two places we walk our dogs at. One is a county park that does have a lot of bag dispensers and trash cans specifically for dog waste. And I do see a lot of less dog waste there on the ground. Another place that we walk them at is a local. It's not a municipal park. It's a land trust area, and they do not. It's kind of a packet out, and we do see a lot more dog waste there. They don't have the resources to have a trash can there that's going to be regularly emptied. So just from that anecdotal evidence, I would say that having a waste receptacle for the dog poo definitely helps. But that also comes down to, do you have the resources to regularly clean it out? Because if it's overflowing, then it almost makes a problem worse. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I will say that also speaks a little bit to the education component that we're doing here of every litter bit matters, as you might think like, oh, it's no big deal. Um, but we all know that it is a big deal when you step in it when you're walking down the sidewalk, and that nobody really wants to be in a community that has dog waste everywhere. So getting that education component of, get one of those um, doggy bag dispensers on your leash, take those extra steps to carry that bag home and put it in the trash or to take it to a trash can at least. Yeah, it's all again, every litter bit matters. We have to work together. Any more questions, Kylie?
I don't see any more questions in the chat right now. If anyone does have any last minute questions, or if I missed a question, please chat it again.
Since we have a lull in questions for a moment, I just wanted to, and people can type in the chat. Has anyone had any other campaigns that they're doing in their community or their municipality that they might want to share in the chat? Is there marketing material available for dog poop? I
I'll
don't know
put
if
it on our
there's
wish list.
yeah. um,
I know different organizations might focus on that more across, like I know Leave No Trace, I believe, has a section on their website about that and how to maybe change people's behaviors. But from a PA Fights Dirty standpoint, I don't believe there is.
No, we would encourage you to maybe just use the regular logo on things, or the magnet might be also a good fit for that.
Yeah, I would also check with your local ASA Animal Rescue League or SPA. They probably have some things. We've done some co-marketing with our ARL concerning dog poop, and mainly as less as a litter, but as a parvo prevention. That's how parvo gets spread, and puppies that get it are terribly, terribly, terribly sick. And so we've done some marketing with that.
Bethany, that's a really good point. Tying it into something more serious, the same way PA Fights Dirty campaign does with cigarette butts, when like plastic litter, tying dog poop into something more serious, and especially when you're talking about puppies, no one wants to make a puppy sick.
No, and they can't be vaccinated until they're 6 months old, so it's a critical time to make sure that we're not potentially spreading it.
I think that's a great example of how like the way that you frame a promotion of education definitely matters when you tie in that sentiment for sure. And then like Sarah said in the chat, they're trying to promote recycling and trash by having 2 cans at every location with trash cans marked as landfill. So that might be more impactful in someone's mind other than saying trash. Might make them think a little bit different to recycle their item instead. So thank you for that, Sarah. Yeah, is there any other questions or any last minute sentiments of what you guys might be doing in your boroughs, municipalities, communities, different organizations that are on this call today?
If not,
I put everyone's contact information in the chat, and then you will get a recording link eventually, shortly after this ends, for anyone who could not make it, and for anyone who wants to watch this again. And yeah, Sarah, do you have any last minute comments?
just that we really are here to work with you to get the message out. We really are all about partnering with communities here at DCED. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have like questions, if you're like, oh, this material would be really great to have. If you have ideas that you want to share, yeah, don't hesitate to email us.
We love to hear success stories too, and what you're doing that's working, or even something you tried and didn't work as well as you thought it would. That's something that we could all learn from. So please share your stories, both good and bad.
Yeah, always feel free to email any one of us, I would say, with questions. And if we don't know the answer, we'll direct you to someone who does. Stories, anything along those lines for sure.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending. We'll wrap up here. And yeah, again, feel free to email us if you need anything else. All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day.